All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So, following the Boston Celtics exit last spring in the Eastern Conference semifinals, there were some people who were ready to shovel dirt on them for this NBA season. Some people who felt like, you know what, the Celtics might not be a playoff team or they would just be struggling to find themselves in the play-in tournament. That has not been the case this season, as the Celtics have really faced adversity, head on. You think about it, the Achilles injury that Jayson Tatum suffered in that playoff loss to the Knicks last year in the second round was a big reason for that. Okay. The sale of the Celtics franchise, coupled with them looking to avoid that luxury tax apron, which resulted in them parting with veteran point guard Drew Holiday and center Kristaps Porzingis last summer. And because of this, like I said, a lot of people, or some people rather, did expect the Celtics to take a step back or maybe take several steps back because they simply didn't have the skill or the depth in some people's eyes, especially the depth of the team when they won the championship 2 years ago. However, we are really seeing this Celtics team show their resiliency this NBA season. No Tatum, no problem so far for the Celtics. And it starts with Jaylen Brown, as he has really stepped up his game this season. I mean, don't get me wrong, you cannot replace what Jayson Tatum means to this team, but we're seeing Jaylen Brown have himself an MVP caliber season. He's averaging career highs all across the board, which includes averaging more than 29 points per game. He has really stepped up and taken charge this season. And I think enough people, in my opinion, are not talking about Jaylen Brown as being an MVP candidate. The emergence of Peyton Pritchard. He's gone from being a quality six man, was the NBA six man last year, six man of the year last year, to being a bona fide starter. He started the majority of the season for the Celtics. He's dropping in more than 17 points per game. You think about a guy like Derek White, who I feel like for Celtics fans, I think the Celtics fans appreciate him. But for outsiders, they're probably looking at him and saying, you know what? This guy, he's just flying under the radar. But the bottom line is you're talking about a guy who's dropping more than 17 points per game himself. The Boston Celtics across the board are continuing to play a very efficient brand of basketball. They're averaging the fewest turnovers per game in the NBA this season. They're also defensively allowing the fewest points per game. And that right there goes a long way. And it'll also go a long way for them in the postseason. They're not attempting as many 3-point shots as they have in recent years. They're still attempting their fair share of 3-point shots, don't get me wrong. But nonetheless, the Celtics, in my opinion, they are playing an extremely efficient brand of basketball this season. That system, of course, can be attributed to Brad Stevens, who's running this front office, as well as head coach Joe Mazzulla. And again, getting back to what Boston has been doing this season at 39-20 with so much not expected of them. I think Joe Mazzulla should be getting more attention, and more people should be talking about him as far as being the NBA's coach of the year this year, in my opinion. Now, with that said, the Celtics are 39-20. Will we see them finish as one of the top teams in the East? I truly do think so. I mean, you look at it right now, they're 39-20 as we speak. They're 5.5 behind the Detroit Pistons. And I think at this state of the game, I don't think anybody's going to catch the Pistons for the top spot in the East. I think this is going to come down to, if you're the Celtics, how are you going to land in the postseason picture, if you will, in comparison with the Knicks as well as Cleveland? You got a game and a half lead over New York. You got a 3-game lead over Cleveland for that second spot. So it's one of those where you can't hide from anybody in the postseason. Don't get me wrong, but of course, if you're Boston, you want to go out there and try to continue to take care of your business as much as possible. So I definitely do think Boston is going to be a top four team in the East. It's just a matter of where they're going to be, two, three, or four. And I think at this point, they're in the two spot, and of course, and I think they should be the favorites to finish there during the regular season. Why? Because like aside from everything else that I just said, there's a possibility that we could see Jayson Tatum return for this team this year. He's been able to practice. He's getting his sea legs back, if you will. And it's one of those, will we see Tatum come back? We got to wait and see. And if Jayson Tatum does come back, what type of impact would he have? I'll tell you like this, first things first. The Celtics, they're going to approach this thing with the kid gloves because they're not going to sit up there and rush Jayson Tatum back to prove a point. I think Jayson Tatum is not going to want to come back unless he truly is 100% and unless he truly has confidence in that leg post the Achilles injury. I do believe that there would be and there will be a restriction when he comes back, even if he doesn't come back this year and he decides, that everybody involved decides to bring him back for next season. Nonetheless, I still do think that there will be a minutes restriction for him. I've said this in the past, and I will say it again. I truly feel that Jayson Tatum should come back and come off the bench. I don't see that happening, in the real world. But nonetheless, I still think he would be on a minutes restriction. From the Celtics standpoint, getting Jayson Tatum back, though, would basically work like a trade deadline acquisition because you've done so much without him this year, and it's all about blending him back in with what everybody else is doing. And that is, of course, is going to be a huge advantage for them. Why? Because if the Celtics were able to get a Jayson Tatum back for this season, you've got yourselves another finisher. And that right there could be big, or would be big rather, for Boston in the playoffs. It's one of those for me. I look at this Celtics team right now, like again, they're 39-20. They're 4-5 so far this season against the other top teams in the Eastern Conference. And I'm talking about the Cavs, the Pistons, and the Knicks. They're 1-2 against New York, 1-3 against Detroit, and then of course they are 2-0 this season so far against Cleveland. It's one of those for me. I feel like this Boston team could be a very dangerous, and I'm going to use the word vicious, team in the postseason because I think they've got something to prove for a variety of reasons. They had an opportunity to run it back last year and they fell short. And I'm going to give credit to the Knicks on that. I'm also going to give credit to the Celtics for their own undoing. With that said, they've got something to prove because this is still a championship caliber team. They also are playing, and they have been playing with a chip on their shoulders all season long because a lot of people wrote them off. You look at the emergence again of a Peyton Pritchard and what he has done. You look at Jaylen Brown and how he has taken his game to the next level. And I guarantee you, Jaylen Brown already has a ton of confidence. He's a star in the NBA. But this, I think, is only going to build and add to the already large amount of confidence that he has. So you have that factored in, and you're also factoring in the possibility of a Jayson Tatum returning to this team. I think the Celtics are going to be extremely formidable, especially with the way that they play at the defensive end of the floor. So, nonetheless, you look at this team, they've been solid all season long. Okay. They've had a couple of bumps in the road here and there, but nonetheless, the fact that we're talking about this team more than likely possibly winning 55 games, if not more, for the at the end of the regular season, advantage Boston Celtics, and I think their momentum would definitely carry over to the playoffs. So again, this was a team that was written off after the Tatum injury, written off after the departures of Drew Holiday, Al Horford, and Kristaps Porzingis. But you know what? It's business as usual for the Boston Celtics. They are still one of the top teams in the in the Eastern Conference, and like I said, they are once again going to be extremely formidable in the playoffs. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it is greatly appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, it will be my pleasure to do the same in return. And that also goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, be sure to check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.